Hello, and welcome to Sarah's Baked Goods. Today we're going to be making strawberry jam. It's a very simple recipe, but a very useful recipe. So, let's get into it. So first we're going to add our sugar. I use frozen berries because frozen berries concentrate all the sugar in them and taste a lot better for jam than fresh berries. Now that's based on my taste. Yours might be different. If you prefer fresh strawberries, use fresh strawberries. But this is what I like to do. So first we're going to add a ton of sugar. I am making 3 liters of jam, so it does look like a lot of sugar, but overall it's not as much as you would think. The other thing I'd like to point out is when you're using jam, you're not using a ton of it often. So it's okay to go crazy on the sugar and make it unhealthy, because just use a tiny little bit on your sandwich, or in my case for baking, I use it for the Hungarian shortbread. Don't use a ton for that. It's very, it has a lot of flavor, so you don't need to use so much, and then it becomes less unhealthy. It's how you use it rather than trying to make it less sugar. Because if you try to use less sugar in this, you're not going to make jam, you're going to make like a soup essentially, because it won't thicken enough. So keep that in mind before you decide to half the sugar or reduce the sugar. And pre-weighed out lemon juice and zest. It's 1 lemon. Very simple. We're going to put this off to the side, start mixing it and heating it up to start to cook. Here's how you're going to set it up. This is what your jam will look like once you start mixing it. Turn it on. You can turn it on to medium. And then you have your water over here that needs to start to boil. This water is for your jars so you can sterilize them and to help with the seal. The only thing left you need to do with this jam is you need to blend all these berries together, and then once it's heated up we can add in our pectin. So all I'm going to do is blend them up. Before your jam starts to boil, you need to get your jars done first. It's very simple. Put them in. Give it 30 seconds minimum per each side, and you'll just turn it as you go. That way it kills everything and gets the glass hot, so when you pour hot jam in, it doesn't crack or anything. Also make sure you're using jam jars. I shouldn't have to say that, but just in case, if you're using not so good glass, it could shatter on you because it's not ready for the heat, and when it goes from cold to heat really quickly, it could either shatter or crack or break, and it's just a pain. This is very dangerous, so make sure that you're very careful. You don't want to be burning yourself. Once you're done with all the jars, turn up your heat on your jam to make sure it's max heat so that it gets going real quickly. Then you're going to do your lids. Depending on what kind of lid you're using, it will change, but make sure you look at the seal and you look around the whole seal. If any of it's damaged, then you can't really use it because bacteria will get in, and even though that you heated it all up and killed everything, over time bacteria will crawl underneath and ruin your whole jam. So make sure to look at the seal. If the seal is good, you can just place it in. And it's really easy because you can just do all of the lids together because they don't take up so much space. All you have to do is make sure that they are getting in the water. And be careful when you're using metal, because metal can scrape off that ring. So just let that boil for a bit. This is almost ready to go to put in the pectin. So when it starts to bubble up, you add in your pectin. Make sure you stir it fully together. Once it gets back to a boil after putting in the pectin, you take it off the heat, skim the top off, and then you can pour into your jars. Now that it's boiling again, just going to turn it off and use my spoon and bowl to skim off the bubbles. If you're making this at home for yourself, you don't need to do this part because this still is jam, but it's trapping bubbles. So if you put this into your jars, it's not going to be the same amount of liquid as if you got rid of it. What I mean by that is, if all these bubbles got into one jar, that jar could be 50 milliliters less than all the other jars just because of all the air it has inside. So for consistency and to make it look good, because these bubbles don't look that good, I like to skim off the top before I pour. You're never going to get all of it, so this will be fine as it is, but look how much I got off. That's tons, and that's way better to be outside of your jars than inside your jars. And all that's left to do is scoop them into our jars. So depending on how much time there was between cooking your jars and your jam, you might have to use tongs to hold these jars. Fill them slightly more than you think, because when it cools down it will shrink, and that's what seals it. You don't want to be filling it to the correct level, because it will go down like this much and then it won't look so nice. It'll look like you're trying to cheat your customers. Make sure to tighten the jar. It's going to be very hot. Because it's hot, it's going to loosen up constantly. So with warm water, not cold water, let it run and tighten it that way so you don't burn yourself, like this. That way you can tighten it nicely and you can wash any spills you may have had. After 10 minutes, as it cools down, retighten them. Because of the heat, the metal expands, and when it cools down it shrinks. It doesn't tighten perfectly, so you do just give it a nice little tug right at the end. You'll feel it move slightly, and that's all you need. 10 minutes for the small ones because they cool down quicker, and about 20-ish, 25 minutes for the larger ones. And obviously it will depend on your jar, so if they're thin like this but tall, it's going to be about the same speed as this one. But if they are thick and small like this, but this wide, it will take the same amount as this. It's all about how slow it takes. Yeah, those will be a little bit longer. Once these have cooled down to room temperature, you can then put them in the fridge, let them set for the rest of the night. Make sure you're not shaking them or moving them around. Anytime you do that, the pectin will start to turn back into a liquid, so be very careful not to be shaking these until they're fully set. And we're done for today. So here's how they turned out. They're looking good. They set perfectly after a full day in the fridge. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I even have my own website. Thank you, and have a nice day.